They met a third time at Lincoln's actual second inaugural. Douglas was in the audience behind the Capitol when Lincoln gave what is, I think without question, his greatest speech. And afterward, Douglas went to the White House to the official reception. At first, when Douglas arrived at the White House, he wasn't admitted because he was black. And the police security guards didn't know him. And he kept trying to push his way in. He said, no, 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 I'm invited to this. And he got in close enough that Lincoln actually could see him. And Lincoln, we're told, actually Douglas tells us, that Lincoln sort of shouted over the crowd to the security and said, let him in, that's my friend Douglas. And he was not only let in, but Lincoln sought Douglas out and asked him, I want to know what you thought of my speech. And Douglas tells us that his initial response to Lincoln was, oh, no, no, sir, you must attend to all of your other guests, not to worry about me. And Lincoln said, no, 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 you above all people, I want to know what you thought. And Douglas said his response was, Mr. President, that was a sacred effort, which is actually a very apt description of Lincoln's second inaugural. There's a story that they may have met even a fourth time at the Soldiers' Home residence, which was a summer residence for the Lincoln family during the Civil War, although I don't think that's ever been documented. The most important thing about their relationship, though, is probably not the times they actually met, but the kind of intellectual exchanges, the kind of influences one may have had on the other. Because the most fascinating thing about the Lincoln and Frederick Douglass relationship is that at the start of the Civil War, they're in very different places, ideologically, about where this war is going and what its purpose is and what its aims ought to be. Douglas wants this war to be for abolition from day one. Lincoln does not, and in some ways cannot do that just yet. But by 1863 and into 1864, it is as if they have come together and are speaking from the same text. If the argument of Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address is all about the rebirth of an American republic out of all the death and sacrifice of that war, it is exactly the same argument that Frederick Douglass is making in the same months of 1863 and 64 in a speech he called The Mission of the War, where he said the Civil War has to be a rebirth, a reinvention, a recreation of an American republic rooted now in the destruction of slavery and the establishment of freedom and hopefully equality for African Americans.